That's a cool shout out. Shouts out to Ryan. Have you ever thought that maybe I get this access because you cultivate pragmatic, actual political workers who allow you into opportunities such as that? No, I think it's clout. I'll be honest. I think it's definitely clout. Yeah, here. This is Rafah before and after Biden's red line, chat. This is supposed to be, this was the safe zone. The New York Times wants you to rest easy with the knowledge that the person Israel murdered wasn't really an American, with Turkish flags flying and chants of God is great resounding throughout the cemetery. Ayşenur Ezgi, a Turkish-American activist killed by Israeli forces in the West Bank, was laid out to rest on a Saturday in town on Turkey's Aegean coast. Although she moved to the United States as a toddler, acquired citizenship, and spent most of her life here, the funeral for Miss Ezgi, 26, was deeply Turkish and profoundly pro-Palestinian. Hundreds of people, many carrying Palestinian flags and wearing Palestinian scarves, gathered at the central mosque in the town of Didim to say prayers for her, including senior Turkish officials. No American officials attended, and there was not an American flag in sight. Thank you, New York Times, for honoring the memory of an American citizen of Turkish descent by erasing that aspect of her identity, despite the fact that you also readily recognize that she spent most of her life here. It feels great as a Turkish American myself, who is also pro-Palestinian, to know that if one day I am assassinated by the Israeli state or some shit happens and there's any kind of media from the gray lady, the paper of record, that this will probably be a similar sight. This is one of the weirdest stories because of, like, obviously how fucking, like, the closeness I experience, the closeness I feel. It's just, you know, this is what you're talking about when you say there are limits to your white passing. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder why they didn't fly the American flag at her funeral. Perhaps it has something to do with the fact that America's vassal state assassinated her. Even CNN wrote a better article than the New York Times. No, New York Times is like, dude, I'm telling you right now, New York Times on every other issue is like, they have defensible positions, they have indefensible positions. On Gaza, it is the worst. They are worse than Fox News for one key reason. Everybody knows what Fox News is. Everybody expects Fox News to be unhinged. People do not expect the paper of record to utilize their objective air of credibility to do the bidding of the apartheid state to this degree. Okay? That's the fucking problem. You think it's on purpose? Yes, absolutely. This is actually a good comparison. Exactly. Just ask trans people. They're ragging on us is so much more painful than Fox News or New York Post. Exactly. Because the expectation from New York Post is that they're going to write articles about, like, a Haitian guy getting into a minor fucking traffic accident with no injuries. But when it's the New York Times writing about Haitian migrants with similar terminology, all of a sudden that has an air of seriousness to it. Angle is advertisers, Jewish employees act as the politicians. I'm willing to bet that the Jewish employees of the New York Times are significantly more anti-Zionist than whatever the fuck the editor-in-chief is going off on. Okay? I know a lot of New York Times journalists. There's fucking brilliant people there, okay? We met a New York Times journalist. He interviewed me. That interview never made it to print, but he interviewed me. Did he come across as like someone who is an ultra Zionist to you? No, he didn't to me. Very smart guy. Sometimes you have to understand, especially when you're, yeah, no, he's great. He was dope. What you need to understand is sometimes the journalist is not the final, like in many instances, actually, in a paper like the New York Times, in most papers, in most teams, behind the scenes, the editorial board controls and has a lot more to do with the way that certain things are framed, certain issues are framed, certain angles are taken. If Palestinians were Jewish and the U.S. aligned settlers were Muslim, the U.S. and the New York Times would be backing the Muslims. It's about empire, not religion. Yes, but I think even a better argument there, because that seems so impossible because of the war on terror. People can't even people don't have the capacity to understand that. Yeah, the top of these news companies are run by people who have large goals of pushing American global hegemony. The people on the ground are normally in it for the love of journalism. Yeah. The thing is, the better argument that I make all the time is that if every single American Jew tomorrow turned around and fucking said, enough is enough, not in our name, we do not want you to do this shit, you're out of your fucking mind, we're all anti-Zionists. If every single American Jew, 6 million, 7 million American Jews living in the United States tomorrow were like, we're all anti-Zionists, we're done with this shit, nothing would change in terms of America's analysis of the situation. It has nothing to do with Judaism. They would be ignored just like the many Jews that are ignored or directly arrested at the fucking pro-Palestinian protests right now. They would still keep saying it's anti-Semitic to not be in support of Israel. They would, like, you would have Christian Zionist newspaper editors turn around and literally fucking write articles about how anti-Semitic American Jews are. Okay? That's it. They'd be like, these self-hating Jews, why do they not know? Why do they not know what the truth is? That, you know, you are not safe here if Israel didn't exist. Which is, at that point, more of a threat or maybe even a promise, you know? Yeah, the only Jewish member of parliament opposed the Balfour Declaration, written by an anti-Semitic guy, by the way. Let history demonstrate that no one gave a fuck. Nope. I mean, look at this conversation. You got a fucking dude who was raised Catholic telling an old Jewish man what's what about Israel. Immediately, he's like, delicious. You mean Gal Gadot?
Right, and I want to go back to your experience at the DNC. Obviously, you have the huge TV networks like CNN, NBC, ABC. They have all of the media suites, and then there's what they perhaps call alternative media or independent media. What did you experience was the treatment between mainstream media and outlets like yours, and you know, what does that say about this country's access to information?
Well, the DNC interestingly rolled out the red carpet for kind of TikTok influencers and Instagram folks who are doing in general doing more just kind of PR for Democrats than operating in a traditional kind of adversarial posture toward the people that they're covering.
He's right.
The one interesting exception was HasanPiker, who I think is kind of showing the way that there is an opening there if you have a big enough audience. We started out where he was going to partner with us because he was unable to even get in the door of the DNC because the application process is so Byzantine and difficult to navigate for somebody who's not already in that system. The congressional press galleries manage the access for most journalists at the DNC, and because we're already part of the congressional press gallery, it was easy for us. We're like, here, you can use our desk inside the arena. But then by the time he got there, it was fascinating. I met up with him on the first day to kind of show him where the desk was, and he's got a DNC handler with him.
Wow.
And she said, "Don't worry, we've got him taken care of. He doesn't need your desk." And she just shadowed him the entire time, gave them access to this kind of exclusive suite that, you know what, access rescinded. So wow. They tried. They were open to it, and they're like, "Ooh, we thought he was going to be a little bit nicer to us, and he wasn't." So it kind of got walked out of there. I don't know what they were thinking, but I do know what they were thinking, and it didn't pan out for them. But yes, it's also a matter of money. We're very excited. We've got over 200,000 subscribers. I think at this point we're about 6,000 of them are paying subscribers, so it's good enough to sustain a small investigative news operation. But these other major outlets have budgets in the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, which we can't remotely compete with.
Over 50,000 people double the DNC watching him get kicked out while being interviewed by the New York Times. Spent that morning being interviewing the uncommitted members out front. Makes you think. That's a cool shout out. Shouts out to Ryan. Have you ever thought that maybe I get this access because you cultivate pragmatic, actual political workers who allow you into opportunities such as that? No, I think it's clout. I'll be honest. I think it's definitely clout. Clout plays a big role in this. All right. So the last piece I wanted to talk about was the Ohio Division of Wildlife tells TMZ that a black man holding geese in the photo that went viral was actually picking up the geese after they were hit in a car accident. As previously reported, the incident didn't even occur in Springfield, Ohio. It took place in Columbus, and there's no evidence that the man is Haitian or an immigrant. Once again, someone saw a black person holding geese and immediately thought, well, it must be, Haitians doing crazy shit. Insane.
Foreign countries paying those tariffs, won't they pass those along? If they passed a tax on golf memberships, you would probably at your resorts pass that along to your members, right? You wouldn't have just absorbed it.
It sort of depends on the market, not necessarily.